You're listening to the Future of Convenience podcast, featuring senior retail executives and experts in the global convenience and mobility industry. Welcome to the Future of Convenience. I'm happy to be alongside my co-host, Dan Munford, again today. Hey, Dan.
Hi, Carolyn. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's good to see you. So today we're going to dive into electric vehicle charging here in the U.S. and California, actually. And we're talking with a charge point operator who is successfully navigating the rollout in California locations.
Are you looking for a loyalty platform that drives real results? Liquid Barcodes is the leading loyalty and subscription platform for convenience retailers worldwide. From global brands like Circle K and 7-Eleven to innovators like Rebel Stores and H&S Energy, great convenience operators trust Liquid Barcodes to keep their customers coming back. Liquid Barcodes delivers the complete loyalty solution, making it easy to operate targeted and gamified loyalty programs with a fantastic user experience. With features like subscriptions, games, and advanced analytics, Liquid Barcodes helps operate a loyalty program and helps grow the business too. Learn more at liquidbarcodes.com. Yeah, really super excited about this conversation today. You know, EV always gets me going, Carolyn, but as you know, we're right at the pinnacle of our best EV hub in the world competition. And one of the beauties of our competition is it uncovers gems around the world. In this case, you know, very innovative EV hubs. And significantly, we're going to be talking to one of those in California, which is a very important part of the global economy. California on its own is, I think, the world's fourth largest economy, more or less the same size as Japan. So what happens in California matters globally. And I think that's one of the reasons I'm excited about this conversation today.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be really awesome. So today, our guest is Bill Reid, the CEO of Rove Charging. Hey, Bill, thanks for joining us.
Hi, it's great to see you, Carolyn, and Dan. Thanks for inviting me onto the podcast.
Absolutely, Bill. So, Bill, you know, just to set the scene for our audience, Rove has a huge charging hub in Santa Ana, California. You have 40 DC fast chargers. You have a grocery store, Gelson's, on the site. How did you get into this business? I mean, how did you get to where you are today?
Well, thanks for the question. Just by way of background, Santa Ana is south of LA. It's about 10 minutes from Disneyland. So if you come to the US and want to go to Disneyland, you'll go right by us on the 5. Um, I have a long time investing experience, a long time finance person and a private equity investor, and the last decade spent most of my career working on building energy infrastructure sites, power plants, things like that. And I was approached by 4 guys who were very frustrated EV drivers in California and said, we need somebody to help us figure out the power side of EV charging. That's clearly important, but also how do we get something off the ground and go forward? And so I got involved 4 years ago, and it's gone terrifically ever since. And we opened our first site in October in Santa Ana. And in the first 6 months, we've charged over 100,000 cars. So very pleased with how it's happening. We thought there was a need for an urban-based location near highways or major retail thoroughfares where you always knew there was going to be a charger available and it would work. And so we have 40 chargers on the site. We have charging support staff or security 24/7. So you know you will be taken care of if you come to a Rove site.
Well, that certainly is all of the things you mentioned, things that are, I don't want to say hindrances, but things that are on the top of the mind of people who don't own EV cars yet. You know, is it safe? But especially, does it work? I drive by these, I don't see enough. They're never working. And that's the things they hear that are the negatives. So by just even addressing that is a good starting point. And, you know, throughout the US, we're getting there. We're starting to see a few more of these, but yours is certainly unique to the US market. I think I've seen, you know, you go to a grocery store, there's a charger or two. You go to a gas station, there might be a couple chargers way in the back. Yours is very unique. The photos that we see from our, the best EV hub competition that you entered this year, it looks to me like a lot of European sites. It's got the solar powered roof. It's got a lot of chargers. So can you tell me a little more about this site and the impetus for the collaboration with Gelson's?
So we designed the site to be something we would want to use. We would want to go to a place where we knew any car could charge. So we have Tesla and ABB chargers, 40 of them. They're fast chargers, which takes a lot of power, which is one of the challenges in building charging sites. So we really focus on where can we get the electricity to power a site like this. And then we figured that people would want to always be safe. So the site is lit at night. There's always people there. Uh, we figured we would want an amenity, a clean bathroom, free Wi-Fi, a market where you could pick up a juice or a coffee or a snack. And we found a terrific local partner in Gelson's who's very committed to the local community and has very high quality offerings. So they've opened a recharge market at the Santa Ana site that's going very well. And we offer a few other things. You know, there's squeegees. There's places to put air in your tires, and you can vacuum out your car, things that you wouldn't find it at an ordinary charging site. And the biggest impediment in the United States to buying an EV is how am I going to charge it? And in California, it's really ground zero for EV ownership in North America. If you can make it there, you know, you're doing well. And so we figured that's where we would start.
And just very interesting, Bill. And just thinking about California, I mean, there are more EVs being sold in California than other US states, right?
Yes, by a long shot. Almost a quarter of all car sales in California now are EVs. They're everywhere.
Yeah, and so I mean, obviously, again, just we're going to talk about the future at the end, but I mean, I'm interested in your expansion plans in California. You see more opportunity. Rove sees more opportunity.
We do. I mean, we take a very data-driven approach to selecting sites and figuring out our market. So we want to know how many EVs are registered within 5 miles of our site. What's the traffic on the immediate road? How busy is the throughway nearby? All of these things are important, um, and have really helped us pick a good site to start with. And we have 10 others in development. We've actually broken ground on the second one on Harbor Boulevard in Costa Mesa on the main route going down to Newport Beach. And we will have a site in development close to being ready to start construction in Torrance, California, Long Beach, California, and Corona, California. So all Southern California focused, but we know there's as much demand elsewhere in the state. And as we get our feet under ourselves and get a model that we think is repeatable and the customer likes, and we're learning things every day, we'll roll out. Our initial plans are to have 35 sites by 2030.
Well, that's really impressive, Carolyn, isn't it? What are some of the learnings? You know, you've been opening this site, which looks, as Carolyn was saying, I mean, it reminds me a lot of the sites we see in Europe. You know, in terms of having really good amenities, where you're thinking about the whole customer experience, not just the charging. So, I mean, we'd say you're on the right lines. But what's your experience so far with customers?
Well, it's interesting, and I grew up in the East. We don't have shade over every parking lot, so I was a little skeptical. Do we need shade? It turns out people really want shade, and they want shade that's lit at night. So that's one thing we learned. Two, I knew that people were getting confused about how to make chargers work, and even if they had had an EV for a while, getting the payment to go through and other things is sometimes complicated. So we thought, well, we'll start by having people on the site who can help any customer who has a question or a problem. That's going to be a permanent feature of Rove because we figured out that not only did it help us keep track of what was happening on all the chargers, and we have 100% availability and over 98% uptime. So if something's wrong, they can fix it or call in maintenance. But we're helping people get everything working. And that's been a very strong selling feature of the site. And finally, the key advantage to that is if there's queuing, they know that you know that someone is keeping an eye on it to make sure it's not people fighting with each other to get an available charger. It's organized. And if they have any question whatsoever, or they're worried about uh, safety at midnight, there will always be somebody there to keep an eye on you.
I'd have a curious question too on that. As you mentioned, like I know they're fast chargers. What's the, and I don't know if you know this right off the top of your head, like the dwell time. Are a lot of people just in and out, like a quick charge and let me keep moving? Are they, there for 30 minutes just chilling? Like what are people doing as a general rule?
So it's an excellent question, and we've been a little surprised. We thought people would be in and out as fast as possible, and you can get a lot of charging done in 20 minutes, but we found that the dwell time is 30 minutes on average, and they're charging 35 kilowatt hours, which is more than half the battery. So they're clearly coming, doing other things with the car, using the bathroom, maybe picking up a juice and getting back in the car. And we're delighted with that. But you can, the limitation on charging speed is not the chargers. We have plenty of power. The limitation is on battery technology, which is improving all the time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's interesting. I mean, so your guests, your EV driver customers feel very comfortable and are enjoying the experience. I mean, I'm concluding from what you say. So, I suppose, Bill, do you feel that Rove has some advantages over, if you like, gas station players who are putting 2 or 4 chargers on their sites? Do you think you have an advantage there?
Well, one of the major impediment to getting people to buy an electric vehicle is charging and public charging. So wherever it is, even if it's two next to the movie theater or behind the fast food restaurant, we think that's terrific because that'll encourage more EV ownership. We're more of a destination. You drive to Rove and to get charging. It's not I'm going to go pick up a hamburger and I'll charge while I'm inside. It's a much more considered alternative, and we think the fact that you can be even if you have to go 5 miles out of your way, there will be a charger available, and it will work. Let alone the kids can use the bathroom or whatever. I can pick up a sandwich for lunch. And incidentally, the organic peanut butter and jelly sandwiches that Gelson's has at the recharge market are terrific. Um, you'll come out of your way. And once we get people to try us, and we use all sorts of community engagement and digital media techniques to do that, they're coming back, and that's a very good sign.
That's interesting with the trial. Something I've heard a lot before is that people are hesitant to buy them, but then they say like, well, maybe you should just rent one, ride it around for a while, or longer dealer. What's the word, like trials? Like basically, like I'm thinking about getting a car, take this home for a few days, and then come back and tell me if you're ready to buy. And I know I had an experience once. I was going to Colorado for just a quick vacation. I was only out there for a weekend, and we're getting there, and they're like, "And here's your EV," and I'm like, I don't want it. Like I want it, but I don't want it because I don't know if my hotel has a charging, port. I'm at a hotel in the middle of like Colorado that I don't know my way around. I don't know how to charge this thing. I've never even driven an electric vehicle, but that's going to change. I'm going to buy one soon. That's on my radar. But then it's the whole, we're going to the Rocky Mountains. I'm not going to drive around a 5-hour trip with this. How do I know the park has it? So I think there's so much more consumer education that needs to be done, both on the dealer, the rental cars, all that stuff. So they're not like, here, good luck. It's like,
I'm
oh,
going to chip
thanks.
in. I think, Carolyn, you're making such an important point. I think it's completely underestimated how much that people like you, Bill, are the first response to the panic that
Yeah.
sets in when people have their first EV, and they they figured out charging at home if they're lucky, but then they get out on the road and really they want some help, and they want a human to help them rather than someone on the end of a phone or an app. I think it's underestimated.
Yeah, for
Well,
sure. I mean, I didn't really expect. I mean, I want an EV. I want to own one. I'm still trying to convince my husband and the rest of my family that this is a good investment. But and that's a small obstacle that I have to tackle. But it's still like and if I'm the one that wants it, to then go to a rental car dealer and have to turn it down when someone's like literally handing me one. But I love that you have the people there to, and your consumer education, like you said, going out and saying like, come try us, come just give us a go, come visit us and see how it works. I love that.
Well, one of the things that was a revelation to me and has turned me into a enthusiastic EV driver is that the trip mapping software, if you say I'm going 2.5 hours away, will tell you where the charging stations are, and frequently they'll tell you when you need to stop. So they'll monitor the use of your battery. And if you search for larger fast charging stations where there are chargers available, and you can look through the technology and see at Rove that there's 28 chargers available right now, you get a lot more confidence in your driving and your trip. Ironically, most of this is habit, right? We all drive the same routes. And if we find something that works for us, like a row station, then you'll make that a scheduled stop for yourself. And we see the same people on Tuesdays and the same people on Saturday mornings, et cetera. They get used to this is where I go, and I know I'll get very good treatment. But the fear you're talking about is the one I think we're gradually wearing down. And oh, by the way, you could charge a car for about $17. How much does it cost to fill up the tank of a car?
Not that.
Much more than that, not that. So I think, I have skeptics who I work with who drive big pickup trucks, et cetera, et cetera. And when they get in an electric vehicle, they go, "This is really cool. It is a product you should try. It's really cool. They're fast, they're nimble, technology is eye-popping, and they're fun." So.
They are. Tell us a bit about your customers, Bill. Just in terms of the variety of customers, are you getting a lot of B2B customers, as we call them, who are driving their car as part of their job?
Well, it's interesting because when we first looked at the data for when people charged in normal charging sites, this was really a kind of noon to 8 o'clock at night business, it appeared to us. What surprised us is that some of our busiest hours, I'm just looking at the usage for yesterday, is 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, and midnight sometimes. Not every day of the week, but frequently. And I think what that's telling us is that people who are rideshare drivers, people who are delivering things, people who are travelers are coming to our site after 9 o'clock at night and using that time to charge. This is good for us, so we've made sure that all the fleets and others in our immediate neighborhood know we're there. But if people will come at later hours, we get better utilization of the site, and of course, it's safe and secure.
Absolutely. And I think that's fascinating. Just thinking about California, you've got some big plans to expand. Obviously you're refining your model, but to be honest, I mean, it looks like you've got a lot right. First out, straight out of the gate. Are, are there any other operators who are doing anything similar to you in California that you also look at and admire?
Well, we keep an eye on all our competitors, and they're all doing a better job every month on reliability, et cetera. And so we pay attention to what they're doing. We don't we don't really see any direct competitors to ourselves right now. There's only one or two outfits in the country that are trying to build large charging stations. They will come, and they will come to California, but we want to get enough in place now so that we develop our brand and we develop the reliability and the relationship with the customer. And the other thing that's interesting about this business is you will never see charging stations opposite each other on corners like you do gas stations because the power is very hard to find and secure. You'll see a charging station on one corner maybe, but there's not enough power to have two or three of them because you use so much electricity doing it. So if we can get a lot of good sites, I think we have a heads up.
Well, that's an interesting thing too, because from the infrastructure side of things, I know utilities and just figuring it out as much as you guys are. Is site selection been tough? I mean, permitting, all of that stuff. California, probably, I'm guessing, is a little easier than the rest of the United States. But I know it's like, I think, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but it's local to local to local. It's one city does something different than the next one. One state does something different than the next one. And I mean, it can take, a long time to build a gas station. It can take a really long time to get approved for chargers. Are you seeing like site selection as challenging as you start moving ahead?
Ironically, there are a lot of sites, but you're absolutely right. Each locality has their own approach to entitlement and permitting. You have to work carefully with the planning boards. When we first started, they had never seen anything like ours, and now that we've built one and we can bring local officials to see how it operates, they get pretty excited because it stimulates economic development. If people are coming down the main thoroughfare to charge their car, they may go across the street to McDonald's or down the block to the food fair. So it's a very positive development for most of the towns we work with. But you're right, it's not easy. You have to have a local focus. You have to pick communities that are enthusiastic about EVs, but so far so good. Other than it takes time and frequently working with the local utility, particularly in California, where there's been so much stress on the grid from wildfires and heat and other problems. You just have to be patient and have very good planning and good relationships with the people you're working with, and you can get it done, as we have.
Right. Makes good sense, Bill. Big question, but looking at the US in general, not just California, and thinking about EV adoption, do you think the power of the product, and you were referring to the coolness of EVs as a driver experience, which we've all discovered, but do you think the power of the product will ultimately win across the US in terms of adoption, or is the rest of the US going to be quite slow compared with California to adopt EVs?
Well, ironically, Florida and Texas, which you would not view as green states, are growing at over 50% a year. And
Wow.
it may take a couple of years, but they're coming on very, very quickly as people are using the product and tell their friends, or their friends see it. So we're quite optimistic that the rest of the country uh, will embrace the EV. I see them all over the East. Are there enough to support a large, expensive charging station like a Rove station? Not yet. California, yes. Maybe it's Texas or Florida within 2 years. But if we're lucky enough to take care of California, we will of course be looking at other markets going forward.
Well, New York State is fairly EV friendly, or trying to be, at least as I understand from what I've read too. So, maybe in your home area one of these days.
Well, people tell me, well, how do I charge my car in New York City? Well, there's only 2 gas stations in New York City. So people have somehow figured out how to get gas in their car. We can help them figure out how to get electricity in their car too.
Yeah,
Wow.
well, you certainly can. You certainly can, Bill. I just wanted to say, before as we come to a close, how delighted we were to find you on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's a wonderful thing. I wouldn't know about Rove without LinkedIn. I messaged, we connected. You've made the top 10 shortlist for Best EV Hub. It's obviously we'll find out soon about that competition, but it's been very exciting to get to know you, and we really admire what you're doing, and we can see a lot of success in your next steps. So thank you for spending time with us.
Well, a great pleasure. As I said, I love talking about Rove. We're very excited about our opportunities going forward. And we want to make every customer's experience a first-rate one, and help them enter the EV revolution.
Well, I hope to be one of those customers entering the EV revolution very soon. And Bill, I thank you for joining us. Now, we are recording this just before the competition ends, though obviously airing afterwards. But if we will still have all of those profiles up on the website, so go ahead. You can check out Rove and all the really cool pictures and everything about that site. And so thank you for joining us, Bill. Listeners, if you haven't already, take a moment and hit that subscribe button right there on your podcast player so you can get the latest and greatest episodes as they drop. Go ahead and give us a 5-star rating too while you're at it. Every one of our episodes comes out every other Tuesday, and take a listen. Make sure you subscribe. And thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for listening to The Future of Convenience. Thank you for listening to the Future of Convenience podcast, produced by Dan Munford, Nick Scherzer, Jenna Ferguson, and Lorraine Evans. It is produced and edited and mixed by Carolyn Schnare, and music is provided by Jukebox Music. Learn more at globalconvenience.com.